The two LA schools, the bitter rivals, future Big Ten residents, both had big games today. USC went up against a wild Washington State team. UCLA invited the biker gang coming in from Utah. Both of them held serve. Matt, I'm going to start with you. Which win was more impressive? The Trojans overtaking a game Washington State team or UCLA standing up against Utah?
I mean, the biker gang has to be, because I mean, if you look at UCLA, you know what they've done under Chip, they've been kind of finesse, and he's been building and building and building. We always thought, well, he's just got to get to that point where he was at Oregon, where he had physical lines of scrimmage. You know, the team that played Auburn in that championship game was a physical team. I think they're very close right now, very close, and they got speed on the outside too. And DTR is really playing well right now. He's not making the mistakes he's made in the past. He's playing very smart. He's throwing the ball accurately. They're a dangerous team. I don't know how far they can go. I'm not sure how far either one of these guys can go, to be honest with you, because I think they're both based on offense. And at some point, they're going to have to stop somebody if you get to the playoff. And I don't think that will happen. But they're fun to watch. They're fun as hell to watch, man. And I think that not only the progression of UCLA, but USC with Lincoln, how quickly he's turned that around, man. He and Kiffin, really, guys, and I know this is kind of off on a tangent. Yep. But he and Kiffin have kind of shown every athletic director and every university president out there that it doesn't take 2 or 3 years or 4 years to build a team.
Correct.
It takes good recruiting the portal. You get the right guys in there, and you can take off, man. They've both done it.
Agreed. And they're both great ball coaches. People in Oklahoma are salty because, you know, just how Lincoln rolled out. It seems like half the country's salty with Lane because of whatever. It's probably more about them.
They're always salty with Lane.
They're both great ball coaches. Hack. Matt went with the Bruins. Are you rolling with the Bruins having the bigger win tonight, or the Trojans, or do you just look at both of them had just big nights?
Well, I mean, I think both of them had big nights, and at the end of the day, you know, we're gonna find out November 19th when they go toe to toe.
Lock horns.
Yeah, you know what I mean, and that's the beauty of it. UCLA's got, I think, Oregon next week for their next game. Is that next week? No. So they got a bye week, and then they play Oregon on the 22nd. So, you know, I think this Oregon team's much improved since that beatdown that Georgia put on them. They've played good football. They've had some tests. They beat a BYU team that we were high on. You know, a lot of returning experience on that BYU team. They went in there and handled business, and they've been handling business up until this point. So I think that this Oregon team can be a little bit of another test for them. If they pass this, though, you know, I think it is going to come down to that November 19th game. And realistically speaking, when you're talking college football playoff, I think from a Pac-12 perspective, from a Big 12 perspective, and an ACC perspective with Clemson now kind of back on the horse, whoever's undefeated is going to get that fourth at-large bid. Because Notre Dame's non-existent, you know, you don't really like, and there hasn't been, you know, a group of 5 storyline team like Cincinnati. Whoever's undefeated is going to get that at-large bid, in my opinion. So someone's got to figure it out, and it's good to see 2 teams alive in the Pac-12. Well, really 3 teams, I think, even though one's got 1 loss. You know, but if they can, whoever comes out of that the least scathed can make a run for that fourth at-large bid, in my opinion.
Let's go into that just real quick between the two of you, given basically what Hack just said. Look at it from UCLA's perspective. If UCLA runs the table, they run right through the Pac-12. Do they warrant consideration for that 4th spot in the playoffs? And I asked that question because the Trojans started already in the top 15, maybe top 12. Now they pushed their way up on the edge of the top 4. Matt, the Bruins, I don't even know where they started. I don't even know if they did get a chance to start in the top 25. They made this meteoric rise. They've been knocking teams out. Big knockout tonight, and you know college football world felt that. If they run the table on brand, on reputation, on body of work, do they merit a seat at the table?
So there's a difference between merit and will it happen. I don't know about merit, but it will happen. If they go unbeaten, they will get to the playoff. Because at this point, you could say, even you could say there's going to be an unbeaten SEC team, there's going to be an unbeaten Big Ten team, there could be an unbeaten ACC team. There's not going to be an unbeaten Big 12 team. So they're not going to leave an unbeaten Power 5 conference champion out of the playoff. That just won't. So merit, I don't know if I would think that if you're unbeaten in that league, you're doing something right. Okay. But I think just based on what it looks like, I don't think the playoff could tell a unbeaten Pac-12 champion that you're not getting in, but we're going to put one loss Michigan in. Michigan's only loss is to Ohio State, and they didn't even win their division. They didn't play in their championship game. I don't see that happening. I think if all things being equal, they'll get in.
Mm-hmm.
So for all you Oklahoma State fans out there enjoying the big win tonight, winding it down, you can send all your fan mail to Matt Hayes at the 1010X Radio Show in Jacksonville.
They almost lost tonight, man.
He has already canceled all your national championship reservations as you currently stand undefeated. Matt Hayes' thoughts are not necessarily the thoughts of Field of 12 football. Direct them to Matt Hayes. Hey, Hack, UCLA.
Yeah.
If they run it, do they get a seat?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting if they run it, Clemson runs it. You have Georgia beat Alabama in the SEC championship game, and let's say Ohio State runs it from the Big Ten, because it's going to be someone from the Big Ten East, whether it's Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State. I'm throwing Penn State in there as just because of where they're sitting.
They should be. They're 10.
Yeah. But someone from the East is going to be there. Historically speaking, there's been 2 teams from the SEC, and then there's one at large bid. But now, if you have a Clemson team run the table in an ACC, that is down. But if they run the table and they're back, history kind of speaks for that. And then you have a Pac-12 team run it. That's when I think the conversation gets interesting, and that's when I'm really excited for the 12-team playoff.
But where would you put your money? The undefeated ACC legacy team that Clemson's had.
That's what I'm saying. That's going to be the hard thing.
Or the new kid on the block.
It's going to be the hard thing. And like I said, I'm sure that there's going to be other variables that go into that decision at that point in time. Fan support, ticket sales, things of that nature. At that point in time, they're going to start trying to drive it. Or if the team's hot. And that's the nice thing, is I think UCLA is going to have bigger games at the end of their schedule that people are going to be tuning into. And if they go out and they beat Oregon, and then they beat SC on the Showtime, and then they win the Pac-12 championship game, okay, cool. Like they're going to have a lot of momentum. So yeah, I mean, I think if they run it, without a doubt.
Real quick, can the city of LA beat Clemson in a neutral site? Matt, I'll start with you. Could the Bruins and Trojans both beat Clemson in Dallas? Let's put them
separate or combined.
Separate. I know they'd want to probably combine. We'll go separate. Could they each beat Clemson?
DJU's playing pretty well right now, man. I think he's almost back to that DJ freshman going into South Bend and playing really well. On neutral field, yeah, I think USC, because I think they're more offensively explosive than UCLA, and UCLA has looked really good on offense the last couple of weeks. But I think USC might be able to. Yeah, it's just defensively. I don't know what we have with either one of those teams on defense. I don't know what they can do as far as it's 3rd and 3 and you got to stop it. You got to stop a basic isolation run. I don't know if they do that.
So you certify the Trojans. Do you certify the Bruins against Clemson? Neutral site.
I'm iffy on it. I'm not going one way or the other.
So that's a no. Hat. Could the city of LA get past Clemson at a neutral site?
I think it'd be tough, man, because I think the front 7 at Clemson
vicious
is nastier than anything they're going to see out there all year. The hard part is the back half of Clemson is not what it is historically been. And then I think from the Clemson offensive side of the football, they aren't what they have historically been outside of the box in terms of matchups and creating separation and winning. So when you're weighing it, to me, it's like almost a balance of like, can the high-powered offense that hasn't seen a front 7 withstand that? Or can the offense that's usually running on racing fuel, that's down to that old 87 outside, can they keep up in a track meet with another high-powered offense, right? Like that's kind of how I put it. And, I don't know. I think the Clemson team been there, done that in that type of setting. Dabo, where they're at, I'd probably lean towards Clemson against both of those teams, but we'll have to see. We'd have to see, but I'd lean towards Clemson.
I almost look at USC as like a watered down version of Oklahoma right now, because at least Oklahoma had some guys on D. At least
watered down version of the old Oklahoma.
Yeah. The old Oklahoma. At least they had a guy off the edge you'd always had to worry about. They had a linebacker you have to worry about, maybe a safety or a corner. I'm not sure they have anything right now on defense you have to worry about.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
That is true.
The city of LA coming through tonight. The Trojans defeat Washington State 30-14. Trojans go to 6-0. Washington State goes to 4-2, and UCLA also goes 6-0. They hold off the biker gang, University of Utah, who is also 4-2. City of LA remains undefeated.
We're dropping our merch.
We got to start calling Underwood Daddy Brad.
But I'm a big pod guy.
Breaking news. The Field of 68 has an online store, and it's your one-stop shop for the latest and greatest merch in college basketball and college football. You can find shirts to support your favorite team, make fun of your rival team, or boast Field of 68 catchphrases like Daddy Brad, Cussin' and Discussin', and the Star Heels. Go to www.fieldof68.shop today and enter promo code TOUCHDOWN for 20% off at checkout.